All right, folks, welcome to Positive Mischief. Today we have Amanda Havey. She is an ECD at a new gig, which she may or may not be able to tell us about. So we'll get into that and find out about. Amanda, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Matt. Thank you so much for having me. This is so cool, and I love your project.
Thanks. So, we're really pumped about this. Yeah, I've been talking for a little bit and had some good conversations. And I was like, you know what? I want to hear more. So,
here we are. Having me.
And we're only going to talk about the day job a little bit. We're going to get into other things that are different, off the wall. You know, you're an ECD, so we want to see how those creative juices flow. We're going to kind of put those to the test. Put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. So let's start real quick. First gig out of the gate. First question out of the gate. Your job, if you were going to explain it to a 6-year-old, how would you explain it so that she might understand what it is that you do for a living?
Okay, I love this question. It's a really important question. So I am a creative director, and the minute you say to someone in response or reaction, if someone says, "Hey, what do you do?" I say, "I'm a creative director." And the very next question is, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. So I really like this question a lot. There's a lot of fuzzy lines, and I have a lot of coworkers who I used to work with, and I would just say writer-producers who are now creative directors.
Yeah.
So I think that it prompted me to start thinking a lot about what the role is, what it means, and how there can be different versions of creative directors. Mm-hmm. And where I land with this whole conversation about creative director and the role and what it entails and what it means and what you do in that role. Since I left Viacom, I started knocking on doors in different industries. And editorial, in the beauty and lifestyle space. And I found that creative director means a lot of different things in across the board. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the people who are my peers, colleagues, former peers and colleagues that I know who now used to be writer producers in the promo area are now creative directors. You know, they come into the role through like an editorial and writing perspective. Mm-hmm. So they know how to cut and they know how to edit. They may not have gone to design school. They may not know who El Lissitzky is or know color theory or know typography, but they're still creative. They're still calling themselves creative directors, and they come in the door through a different pathway. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't, diminish their capabilities. And so really where in summary, creative directors can really be a lot of, they can have a lot of different angles. There's a lot of pathways in and strengths in different ways. I'm not a script writer. I know good copy, but I'm not going to be the person who's going to sit down and write an amazing script. Right. But if I can look at a project, and I can always look at a project and summarize really in short order, I can look at something and analyze very quickly what is either right or wrong about. It's either the editorial, the voiceover is wrong, the lighting was wrong, or the lighting was right, or or can we do this? I'm also I feel very confident about if a client says I have $5 or I have $500,000, I can write creative and conceptualize around a budget, and so that makes me very popular with producers. But yeah, I love talking about the role of creative director because I think it really does come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. I don't think it's it's just one thing, and that's why it's hard to, going back to your original question, Matt, about like how do you explain it to a 6-year-old?
Right.
It's a longer explanation than just saying, "Hey, I'm a dentist." It's a longer explanation, and it's a very interesting role. Yeah. It changes. It shape shifts. Every project is different. just like when a producer calls me and asks me, this might be a nice pivot to a next question. I don't know where you're going to go, but when a producer asks me my rate, I do not have one size fits all answer. I make every project and opportunity is custom in terms of that answer. Sometimes I'll do something for free. Sometimes I'll have a day rate. Sometimes I'll do a flat fee. Sometimes, it's never one size fits all. Someone recently asked me what my hourly rate was. And I was like, I haven't worked hourly since I was 25 years old. So,
right.
So, yeah. So, anyway, I rambled a little bit, but your original question was, how do you explain it to a 6? I think you need to make sure you have like almost 20 minutes to answer the question.
Yeah, she's way checked out by then. Way checked out.
Yeah.
You don't have the answer in 30 seconds. She's on to the next thing,
That's our culture. Yes.
Your hair is nice. It's blonde. Wait, what? Huh?
Yeah.
What happened with the original question? Yeah, I don't care anymore. Yeah, that's my 6-year-old. So I hear you there. I think it's interesting that your point about creative directors and where they come from. I find that to be very interesting. It bothered me a lot when I was younger that a creative director or an art director may have never touched Photoshop, After Effects, Cinema 4D, ever. Did no typography, had taste, which I think is terribly important to be a creative director, but didn't have the first clue about process. And that used to bother the heck out of me, especially younger. There are times when it still does bother the heck out of me. Just saying, for all my producer, writer, creative director friends, I still love you. This is not personal, but it still does bother me.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we're talking about it, because I've relaxed my. I felt the same way, and
I think one of the things I'm learning about creative directing is it is about being able to communicate a message more so than it is being able to really understand the process. I think if you can understand the process, it helps your team because they feel like you are at least in their shoes a little bit and you understand what it takes to get things done. But I think ultimately the job of a good creative director is to communicate an idea, communicate a beginning, middle, and end of how we're going to get this done and what our goals are, more so than being able to understand the process. And that's something that I've learned over the years, where my 25 excited self is now a little bit more wiser, older, and be like, okay, you don't have to know all the ins and outs of Photoshop to be able to be a good creative director.
Yeah, I would add to that. I think where I've landed now today in my older self, I feel a sense of maturity and I feel a sense of confidence and growth, also open to growing every day. Mm-hmm. Is I like to think of a creative director as like a maestro, like the orchestra leader. Yeah. And that's going to like dovetail into the thing I was just saying about maturity, which is I no longer feel like I have to do every role. I don't have to be an expert. And that's where I relaxed a little bit about this creative director conversation, is I no longer feel like I have to do every single part or aspect of the project. What I do need to do is what's best for the project.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's awesome.
I became a grown-up creative director.
Yeah. Like you said maestro, and every time I hear the word maestro, I think about the Seinfeld episode where Elaine's dating the maestro and he wants to be called maestro. I love that.
Like, I know. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't. That's
I want people.
The right word, but it means all I mean is like the person who's like creating like the harmony with and leading the orchestra.
I want people to call me creative director. Just like just call me creative director all the time. That's my name from here on out. Just whole maestro thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's too
I like it though.
Lofty. I just meant that it's the person that's leading the marching band. That's all. And it's like, putting the right people in the right roles and then letting it all like come together.
Yeah.
So maestro's a little too lofty. I don't need it to sound.
I don't know. I think, look, I mean, we've all worked on a lot of different projects, and there are some that they sort of have that many moving parts where it might be a little bit apropos, to label it like that. So it's a great analogy. I think that a lot of people will be able to identify with, this idea that that person.
It's just creating a team.
Well, that person doesn't play all the instruments. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And so, but that's not their job. Their job isn't to play all the instruments. Their job is to get all the people who play the instruments to play them well, to play them on time, and to, all of those things. So I think that's an important distinction, an important understanding about what it is to be a creative director.